So getting ready to enter the stream of Dhamma. So let's begin with the salutation to the triple gem. Yo so bhagava arahang samma sambuddho Swakato yena bhagavata dhammo Supatipanno yasa bhagavato savaka sangho Dhamayam bhagavantang sadhammang sasangham Imehi sangha yatarahang rupite apepuchayam Satno pande bhagava sukira parini putopi Machima janadhanugam manasam Ime sangare dukkhatabana karabunde patigan hatu Mamaham dikharantam itaya sukhaya Araham samma sambuddho bhagava Undam bhagavantang apiva Swakato bhagavanta dhammo dhammam namasami Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho sangham namah Andamayam buddhasa bhagavato pupavakanamakkaram Oma Se Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa So let's begin the checking with meditation, a direct experience. That's the hallmark, what we now call meditation. And in probably the time of the Buddha, they would have called this jhana, or practicing the jhana. Jhana sometimes translated as meditation, and it's become sort of it's become the word, the meaning of the word has often been moved along to a kind of highly refined state. But when looking in the sutras, you see this is primarily a process the Buddha talked about of absorbing, settling in deeply into presence, absorbing the qualities of that, and using that to replenish and refresh and strengthen the citta. Pretty fundamental. So let's just come back in through this. It's through embodiment. Jhana is an embodiment practice. So we come into our sense of having a body, and let's simplify. It's another very important aspect of meditation, to simplify experience from the complex descriptions to much more simple descriptions. Body, sense of upright, completeness down to the soles of the feet, up to the top of the head. Awareness through all of that. Upright axis, up the spine. Moving your awareness up and down this, whatever pace one feels is suitable, as if you're gently shaping something. You're shaping your energies through awareness. Maybe it's very tight up in your shoulders, and you stroke down your back and down your arms. Maybe nothing much happening below your knees, sweeping down into the soles, from the legs, from the back, down the legs, out through the feet, the soles of the feet. And the lateral direction, across the width of the body. Primarily, we might say opening from the chest, the center. Letting the arms come slightly away from the sides of the body. Opening. There is no compression there. And smoothing out down through the arms into the palms of the hands. Keeping the palms of the hands open. It's called the Samadhi Mudra. Samadhi Mudra, Samadhi posture of the hands, is the palm is open, the fingers are gently curled, very relaxed, a natural curl to them. Maybe the thumb tip is touching the other thumb tip, or if the two hands are sitting together, or touching the fingertip of the hand. You sense of something that's slightly curled. So you get the sense of the space, of the openness of the palm, but also the containment of energy through the contact between the thumb tip and the opposing thumb tip, or the thumb tip and the fingertip. Yeah. So it's no pressure there, it's open, it's lightly contained, sensitive. That's called the Samadhi Mudra because this is pretty much what Samadhi is about. Get the feeling of it. Open and yet contained. Contained but lightly contained. Sensitive rather than bricked in or shut down or compressed or contracted or, be careful of the word concentration. It can have a contracting effect. So as you contemplate the experience of body, it's quite important to find and bring careful awareness to the soles of the feet and the palms of the hands. These keep your boundaries lightly open. The energy can then move through the body. It's connected to the energies around you and yet contained. This helps to diminish the sense of being within, like locked in to physical form. And you can move through the physical form. We breathe in from the outside. We breathe out into the world around us. We breathe in, we breathe out. So as you contemplate your breathing, the rhythm of it, breathing out through the entire body, out, soles of the feet, palms of the hands, breathing in through the entire body. As you gain some, that begins to become realized for you. That process is realized. You might find you've got to relax in your belly, in your chest, which is all good. But remember, it's not collapsing. There is that light containment of the periphery of the body is lightly contained. You can feel safe with that. It becomes more comfortable. Then practicing around the head, temples, open the temples, the eye sockets, and the forehead. But starting with just the temples, the sides of the head. Quite sensitive areas. And the forehead. If the tightness in the head that comes through a lot of head work, a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, being able to just release and relax that. Your body becomes quite permeable, open. Connecting it to the trunk. So if you find the long groove that connects where the leg connects to the abdomen, that long groove there, you get down to about the midpoint of that, opening there. And similarly where the arm joins the chest or the trunk of the body, opening in this groove here. You don't have to physically do anything, just bring your awareness there and imagine something like a flower opening, helps to release these unconscious restrictions. And you'll find that when you do that, the lower center, your abdomen, opens up, feels more relaxed and comfortable. And the upper center, the chest, heart also opens up, because now it's got room to do so. The arm isn't restricted. Get a practice with that, and also touch into the heart quality, the feeling of that. So a subtle kind of emotion of openness and openness that's opening to something that's got a fullness to it. It's not opening into empty space, it's opening to a sense of richness. This is qualities of called piti sukha, uplifted, bright, comfortable. Anywhere in which that experience is realized, bring your attention, your awareness there, and linger in it, spreading it through the entire form, from the somatic to the heart. Heart, warm, open. And then you have an energy and a heart that can then begin to digest experiences of the day, the life of karma. You've got something that can handle them and digest them and release them.
Brahma chaloka dipati sahampati Katanjali anativaram maya chata Santi dasata parajaka jatika Dese tu dhammang anukampimang pajang.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So as you all recognize, the practice is about the release, vimutti, release from dukkha. Dukkha is the unreleased. You can say it's the release from the restricted state. The Tathagata dwells with unrestricted citta. So the enlightened one has freed themselves from all restrictions, restricted citta. Chitta dwells unrestricted, released. Yeah. In that restriction, the average person dwells restricted, and the way that restriction fundamentally manifests is these two polarities, one called the self, highly restricted state. Self is localized. It's just in this very narrow space called a body. Lives in this. Yeah. It's encased in the body. It's defined by restrictions, by its name, by its gender. Those are restrictions. By its nationality. Those are restrictions. It's defined by its beliefs and psychologies. Its restrictions. Things it knows and things it doesn't know. Things it likes and things it doesn't like. These are all restricted because it's got distinct limitations of what it can manage and be with without feeling disoriented. It's a restricted form. It clashes, it conflicts with other selves, with other beings. It conflicts with feeling, conflicts with nature. Therefore, in its confliction, it generally tries to either get away from things or dominate them, control them, push them away or make them behave or get on top of it all. And this is your average life struggle to do that. And it's pretty much, doesn't really matter whether how old or young or successful you are, it's the same story. Instead of having to fight off diseases and people who disagree. And he'd set up a society based upon living in these very restricted states, which is definitely prone to greed, to gaining more for myself, prone to aversion, fending off people I disagree with, prone to disagreement, disharmony, clashes because I don't see the way you see things. This is mine and that's yours. This is my belief and that's your belief, and yada, yada, yada. So, and this restricted state, it's restricted by its emotional attachments, things I just can't bear. Sometimes people can't bear the very notion of death. Even the idea of it makes people upset. Separation, which is inevitable in this restricted state. We always experience the self as separate from others. It's a kind of conundrum because we're somehow separated from others, yet we're also profoundly affected by others. Sometimes we wish we'd be more separate from others. People I don't like, I like to be completely separate from, and not have to notice at all. Annoying people, bullying people, arrogant people that I disagree with, get separate from those. And the people I really like to be not separate from them, bonded to them. This is a fundamental kind of a process for human beings, isn't it? We're bonding to people we enjoy or like, and fearing, dreading separation. And then feeling very unhappy when we do get separated. And similarly, people we dislike, not being able to stay separate from them. We see them on the television, we read about them in the newspapers, we meet them in the street, we think, oh goodness me, I don't like that, push that one away. So we're neither separate exactly nor bonded. So we've got this strange state, the self, and unable to manage that, because of course you can't manage this from purely a self position, taking some kind of position on right, comfortable, happy, agreeable. This is good, this is tasty, this is proper, this is, take some position and hold on to it. Then naturally that holding on is stressful, restricted. And you can't really gain happiness through holding on. because it's itself, it's holding on to what? To that which is restricted. And holding on is stressful. But there is a way out of that, non-holding on, the unrestricted state. Realization of something, the chitta blending into the cosmos, into something more universal. The other aspect of the restricted state is called the world. That's that which is around me, surrounds me, physically surrounds me. And it's defined by geographical location. I mean, this particular place, these limitations, is defined also probably more powerfully than that by human construction, such as I belong to a nation. You know, I had to have a visa to go somewhere else because I live in this country. So I had to have a visa to go somewhere else. And the people in the other country, you know, I don't know about them. They're doing things differently. Could be the other, even the other state or the other province, you know, or the other party, political party. You know. So this is also the human world. You know, the amount of defense policies there are and constant trying to find agreements between separate nations. You know. But the real agreement comes when you stop having separate nations. That's when you realize you all belong to the earth. You can't separate the air. You can't say this is my air and that's French air and this is English air and that's Canadian air and that's American air and that's Mexican air. It's just, you know. And of course, we're realizing this. We also get this sense of what the climate and the environment's about defies national boundaries. Yeah. And yet we still adhere to, we've been conditioned into adhering to these national boundaries with tremendous, why? Power, money, organization. And so then we end up being governed or ruled by that viewpoint and ruled by those who have that viewpoint. We're no longer led, we're ruled. We're no longer led to the way out of suffering, we're ruled to conform and behave, with the promise that this will make you stop suffering, but it doesn't. This is the world. Both the world and the self are bound to mortality, change, and death. This is why they're restricted. But there's a way out. And the Buddha says, you come down to it, the very most direct experience, he said, you know, in this very fathom-long body, with its consciousness, mind, perceptions, and feelings, is the world. The place where the world arises, where it forms, where it ceases, and where the path to that ending of the world is present. Mysterious, powerful statement in this very body, this fathom-long body. So he's definitely talking about this human form. Not, you know, is the consciousness, the perceptions, the mind, the feelings that from which the world arises. How does it arise? The arising is called sankata, conditioned, and it arises through these conditioning forces called sankhara. Yeah, and these mean these focus our attention on certain phenomena. Yeah, oh, that's that. They focus our attention in terms of passion and aversion. They focus our intentions in terms of acquisition and rejection. Yeah. They focus our way of thinking about things in terms of me and you. And then, you know, it's very separative, restricted terms. So this is how our world gets constructed, through these conditioning forces. So the very direct practice is beginning to experience these sankhara and the practicing with them and softening them and releasing them through the body. We're doing in meditation. Yeah. So as that, just begin to sense that, are you in a body, really? You can say there is a body, but you don't experience the thing you see with your eyes, do you? You experience a warmth and a certain sense of solidity. And you experience boundaries to that. And can those boundaries be more open? Less sealed off, less me and mine, less bound up, less defended, less needing to dominate. If you do that, you begin to undercut some of these powerful conditioning forces that do cause separation. And when they do, you'll notice it because you feel very much like me, I'm on my own. And then the world of time appears. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? What should I be? What will I not be? Where was I? Where will I be? All this world of other people. What does he think of me? What does she do? How am I compared with them? All this stuff starts happening from the restricted state. And the average person is just trying to get all those pieces to add up. So that she's all right and he's okay and they leave me alone and I've got all this sorted out for the future. And now, of course, with this, this COVID thing, suddenly all that's whisked away because we can't plan a future anymore, really. It becomes more guesswork because you never know when they're going to let you out. The world is locked down. It always has been locked down, really, but now it's becoming locked down in much more manifest ways. We're all kind of, well, at least perhaps your country's a bit more open, but here we're all seized up in Britain. And many countries, there's people dying all over the place and it closes down. And you can't go anywhere. So in my life, it's not too much of a problem, really. I mean, I do feel I'm sort of cooped up. So a sense of wanting to share and mingle is just a human need to feel comfortable, really, to resist that isolation, and also to allow the energies of love and compassion to flow through, and dharna, which makes you feel really bright and alive. The beauty of that is the beauty of the human heart, when it can feel it shares itself with others. And this is part of the joy of meeting and mingling, isn't it? When it's going right. So now, okay, now you can't go out and have dinner with somebody. And you can't, say, plan a vacation in 2 months' time because you don't know whether and you can't go to the cinema or so suddenly the lockdown, hey, this is actually all those things that we relied upon to take away some of the rawness of the restricted state. Some of the pressure has been taken away. Now we can feel it quite strongly. But actually, it was kind of always like this. And, part of the paradox of samana life is that you don't have those opportunities. You don't go out for anything. You don't have a vacation. You don't have something to look forward to. And but what you do have, and which makes it so amazing, really, is you have access to an unrestricted state. You train yourself to an unrestricted state where you feel you're part of the cosmos. Now, part of the cosmos may sound very airy-fairy or something to you. What does that mean? It means essentially you don't feel shut into selfhood. You learn to flow and adapt with conditions, difficult conditions, uncomfortable conditions, comfortable conditions, pleasant conditions, unpleasant conditions. You cultivate a citta that can open and receive all of that, the aggressions, the love, the confusions, and stay open to that. And and then the transformation is this: what was held as an isolated self becomes its true citta unfolds from that into being an open, rich center with wisdom and compassion that can allow conditioned phenomena to meet it, to pass through it. And the training is to become wider, more spacious than these conditions, so that they don't knock you around. Now, this is not something that's a kind of monastic, prerogative only, but this is the training in this, in cultivating this through various processes. And so then we might say, very simply speaking, the self becomes the citta, it's subjective, the citta that doesn't generate these boundaries. It tends to abide in qualities such as loving kindness. And as you reflect, as you look at some of these chanting, for example, it says one, pervades the all-encompassing world with a mind, with a citta, with an intention, with an inclination of goodwill, of kindness, of compassion, of gladness, appreciative gladness, and of equanimity. You pervade. That's quite a key term, because this is the kind of way of trying to define this sense of an energetic spreading. It's not a surge, it's not a jump. It doesn't mean you go out and fix the world with your loving kindness. You go and put some there and then you saturate it. And that means that the energy of the heart permeates experience rather than favors this and rejects that and tries to make that like that, and it doesn't do it, just saturates it. And it takes that's the practice. So pleasant experience comes up, you can sense that, and rather than grab it, you can, okay, it's like this, mudita, gladness, appreciation, equanimity. Stay open. Stay open. That's actually the widest range, when the mind is very open and sensitive and to all of it. So then pervading the all-encompassing world means whatever phenomena arise are met with that kind of response, the capacity to do that. This is not a small thing. And my suggestion is that what that's based on is this tremendous strength that comes from the embodied practice. So the embodiment and the heart practices really come from the same place. What is embodied, what you feel is it has got an energy to it that supports the heart. The heart, citta as heart, and citta and body are pretty much the same thing, or they're very closely aligned. What you feel in your heart, you feel in your body. What you feel in your body, you feel in your heart. So when there's strength in the body, that strengthens and supports the heart. If the body is constricted, the heart is constricted. If the heart is confused, the body feels agitated. And we work on one or the other. So very often the Buddha's recommendation is mindfulness of body is the beginning, whereby you can, because with body you can feel the agitated or the constricted state, but you can generally find somewhere, if you get the whole body, whereby the spine is not restricted, the feet are not restricted, palms of the hands are not restricted. And they will then help the rest of it to unfold. And then your heart energy also unfolds. And so it becomes quite natural. And that's practice. That's meditation practice. Now, of course, you think, well, the details of every individual's life are their own details, aren't they? How do you practice with what restricts you, with your feeling of overwhelmed by the amount of duties you have to do? Yeah. Feeling, extremely despondent with the conditions around you, what your nation is going through. It can be very confusing and despondent. You think, okay, well, let's put the nation to just that's a social construction which is extremely questionable to whether how valid it is at all anyway. It's what is that? And so like Britain only got created, I think, in the 18th century. It was a notion based on imperial economic motivations. It's stuck these people suddenly we all belong to the same thing. And what does that thing do? It goes out and sends ships around the world and conquering people and stealing people's resources. That's the basis. That's what Britain's based upon. And of course, you can create the right wrapping, the national anthem and the regalia and so forth to kind of make it look good. And the same thing, it's all countries, countries get created around that holding of territory and ability to manifest power. But is that really a foundation for a healthy humanity? I don't think so. And we begin to, as you see, these nations are extremely stressed because they're beginning to find almost unresolvable cracks within their structures of people who are left out, inequalities, lower classes, all kinds of internal divisions, because the foundation of it is not harmony, but power. Not sharing, but gaining. Yeah. So with that kind of sankhara running, these are the results. And the results bear out in the external world, and they also bear out in the internal world. People are more psychologically confused, and the rate of mental illness increases. You call it obsessive compulsion disorders, but they're not. And so that, or distinct depressions, anxieties, addictions, all these things increase. Depression, number one affliction. Meaninglessness, loneliness, social dysfunction, dystopias, sociopathic behavior, things that were not common, but they're the end result of the restricted process, cracking people up. So, the opposite of this, pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind of heart of goodwill. And so he says, well, look, let's forget about nation, geography right now. Let's just start to, here I am, and what can I reach? Is it my people around me, my colleagues, my friends, my associates? Sometimes you've got more in common with people living 700 miles away. Dhamma colleagues, We get some sense, and very important to cultivate that. And now we have the flip side of all this restriction is we've developed these channels of online communication, which is something whereby you can feel connected to. Yeah. And this is the other aspect of the human situation now, is there's also an increase in goodwill, grassroots goodwill, grassroots communality, grassroots endeavors to protect environment, to share with neighbors, to look after the sick, to help bring people in. This has always been an aspect of the human mind, hospitable and kindly. Yeah, so it's by no means all bad, but certainly this is the choice, isn't it? Yeah. Which way one turns one's attention. And you find that generally the more profitable is just to turn your attention to cultivating communality, sympathy, empathy, wherever you can, and keep reaching out to those you can touch, those who you can even ask, those you can ask a favor of, because asking a favor is a sign. If you ask me a favor, I know that you're my friend. If you ask me a favor, I know you're my friend, because I know you feel you trust me and so forth. So I'd like you to ask me a favor. I would feel honored by that. Not pathetic you are. This is just cultivation. So then the alternate values you begin to cultivate. Now, often what is not so commonly understood or talked about in certainly in Buddhist circles in the West is much more the sense of the social or the conditioned life, relationships, livelihood, so on. Very much emphasis on meditation, which is fine. But then you come to a point in meditation when, maybe you've got this idea of, you can step back and allow things to rise and pass, and that's really good. You don't get caught in reactivity. You're not following every thought and impulse. You're not following those emotions and instincts. And you realize you've got to follow something. You can't just sit there. You will follow something. So could that something that you follow be quite carefully tuned? Now, this is where, the monastic or someone has a great advantage, because we have a whole set of duties that are laid down. Things you don't do and things you do that are laid down. Our duty is to pay respects to elders. Our duty is to offer the Dhamma to those who need it, if it were asked. It's our duty. And it's not a job, it's a duty, which is a different quality. It's an honor. It allows one's heart to open and move out, paying respects, honoring, and also restraint, to live as with a sense of frugality to the fore, renunciation. So this is definitely, a training to emulate. In monastic life, it's all laid down in various codes. Some of them are actually quite archaic and redundant, but the simple principles pertain. So, like for looking, I think I might have mentioned the other week, just the qualities that bring around social harmony, right? The 4 qualities, which you get them and you see, oh, right, that's what's gone wrong, because the first one is dana, which is generosity and sharing. So you look around, okay, where are our world leaders are being role models for generosity and sharing? Where are they sharing their resources? Oh, right. Don't follow those guys, how many of them are actually into dana, which is not just money, it's also sharing one's time, attention, resources, hospitality, looking after each other, and encouraging that. That's a world leader, one who encourages sharing and cooperation, not holding on and gaining more than the next person. How many people do that? Well, okay, that's what we should try and do. Piyavaja, gentle speech. How many world leaders manifest that? Well, pitiful, isn't it, really? Gentle speech that goes to the heart is truthful and is carefully placed with sensitivity to the mind of another person. This is definitely a training. Even if one is critical, you say, well, excuse me, may I take the opportunity to mention something I think will be for your benefit, because it seems to me that these actions are not, you're not, you can be better than this, and it's going to cause you harm. So even being able to correct each other if there's the opening with a sense of modesty. And this sense of modesty is actually the root word in the old Vedic culture, Vinaya, the word Vinaya, which is now applied sometimes purely to monastic discipline, meant something like humility, which meant, or respect, you could say, means I am just a little being, I respect the truth, I respect wisdom, I respect you, and I live in a way that is respectful and respects your individuality. Namaste, And so this sense of Vinaya is about relationship, respectful relationship, not about rules, rights and wrongs. So this leads to the third quality, Attacharya, which means love of service. Charya, conduct that is meaningful conduct, service. This transforms the work ethic into, well, most people work. Work is a very powerful conditioning force for people. They've got to get to work on time. They've got to meet things done. They've got to arrive at the figures. They've got to make sure they don't get fired. These are very powerful conditioning forces. You see, in the restricted state, these work is an aspect of the restricted state. I mean, conventional work, it means it's surrounded by fear of getting fired and pressure to get things done. That's an aspect of restricted. Now, service is different. Service is love. And it means you just do the best you can. You're a volunteer, everybody's a volunteer. You offer what you can and you offer it. And you offer it with an intention for the welfare of others, and you learn. And with that, because it's unrestricted, you get a lot of good energy from that. So it's a kind of work, but you get energized by it because you're doing what you love. So really to look into what one's doing in livelihood, is it possible to see what is lovable in it? At least I'm providing requisites for my family and friends. I'm living in a blameless way. And I'm taking sense of pride in my workmanship or my craft. So then this is the joy of meaningful endeavor rather than the grind of daily grind of daily, structured work in a restricted state. And I think, we'll find that certainly in Buddhist cultures, a lot of it runs on service. Monasteries run on service, Dhamma centers run on service. People love serving, they come to join in and help out. In the monastery we used to have anyway, before the lockdown, months where we'd open up the forest, woodland, for volunteers who would just love to come and camp out in the woodland and do work there and just so enjoy it, taking out weeds and building fences and protecting trees and planting things. And monasteries always run on that. People who want to enjoy service because it is enjoyable. There's a certain point with gaining money whereby you only get so much satisfaction. Once your basic needs are met, maybe a little bit spare, there's no more to be got out of making money. You know, the real enjoyment comes from feeling of meaningful purpose. It's attacharya. And the fourth quality, samanatata, which means dealing with things with a sense of evenness, impartiality. So this is like to you and to him and to her and to them, same sort of approach. Not my little clique, not just these ones, but spread it out evenly. And also to others as to myself. So I respect this, I respect that, I care for this, I have respect for this, I honor this, I honor that. And kind of cultivate in this way. And these are aspects that bring around social harmony, because if 3 people are doing that with each other, you've got something pretty strengthening. You begin to really see how this human bit can work and how you can create a kind of a structure of mutual support, because we can't do it on our own on that condition level. Some of us can't live on their own. We depend upon people giving us food, and shelter. And so that's important to recognize. This is where you see the sense of the conditions are significant. Maybe we're right to allow things to rise and pass away, but at the same time, you go out for alms food. And certainly before lockdown, it's one of our primary duties, you could say. It was always voluntary. You go walk into the local town because you are doing a service by manifesting an open, calm presence on the street that allows people to be open. And there's no soliciting. You keep yourself quite bold, quite covered, modest, don't say anything, stand back. And somebody notices, they see that. What are you? And you provide something where a person on the street, where normally everybody's running past and getting their own to their stores to get their goods and to get on to work, in a very, particularly conditioned place, it's something that they could just meet somebody who's got no agenda, apart to stand there, who's not in a hurry, who's not going anywhere, who not asking for anything. And that meeting, then the natural result is food. Yeah, I'll get you some food. And this happens so many times without any preparation. It's really, really confirming something fundamental about human beings. This is in England, people who don't know meditation or anything, because they all have hearts, and hearts want to be open. And so often the restricted state of the social world and the social conditions, the social structures through which you move, doesn't really support that openness. Everybody's in a hurry, everybody's busy, everybody's getting theirs, everybody's, it's very important that. And many beautiful occasions on this alms fairing. One time I was in a town and I was on a long Tudong walk, and I had a samanera with me. Samanera was a kind of trainee monk, and some fellow saw us and said, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you Krishnas?" I said, "No, we're Buddhists." "Oh, Buddhists." And the other, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, we're going on this long pilgrimage, and we just live on whatever alms food." So he said, "Oh, wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing." He said, "Oh, oh, here's the keys to my house, which is just down that street. Number, he gave us the number of the house. You open the door and let yourself in, and I'll see if I can get you some food or something. But if I'm not back, help yourself. And when you leave, just leave the key under the doormat, right? So, I mean, can you imagine that? Somebody, a stranger, you give the stranger the keys to your house, tell them to go in and help themselves. Yeah. Where does that come from? So this is possible. And this is really what Vinaya is about, realizing we belong to something bigger than just this narrow, restricted state. We belong, we're most comfortable in an unrestricted state where there's generosity, sharing, trust, respect, morality. These are powerful forces and qualities. And what the Buddha, one of his transformations in that societies was the cosmos, the Vedic cosmos, which is still respected with its devas and Brahmins and Brahmas and Maras. He's still manifested. Now you can say weird stuff, creepy stuff, just because you don't like, the configurations of, you imagine devas with pointy ears or funny hats or something. But if you don't, this is one of the tragedies of our modern world, is we've neutralized the cosmos. We've taken every other force, every other form of intelligence, we've denied it exists. The world of nature, the world of supernature is all dead. Yeah. And in the time of the Buddha, it wasn't dead. The cosmos was saturated with various forms of intelligence, that could be, that a samana could commune with, and blessings would arise. Yeah. And the Buddha said, okay, this is true, but the most important thing is the human being, by aligning themselves to right principle and right practice, that they can feel in their own body. They can feel the sense of harmony and integrity in their own body. They can feel it in their heart. By aligning themselves to these principles of rightness and virtue, then you act as the center, the true axis of the cosmos. And your behavior helps to keep the cosmos manifesting in this human plane, the cosmic order called Dharma, which is the name for the cosmic order, Dharma, the duties that you do to maintain the cosmic order. And the Buddha thought, yeah, I teach this particular Dhamma Vinaya. I teach a Dhamma Vinaya based not upon, but based upon what we can know for ourselves in our own embodiment. And you begin to recognize that whenever you touch into that, and you get the sense of what is virtue, truth, loving kindness, and it sits in you and it suffuses you, this is right. This is where I feel good. This is blameless. This is where I come out of the restricted state. Even if it's only, like the Buddha said, if you manifest the quality of loving kindness for the length of time it takes to pull a cow's udder, then you have not wasted the day. If you manifest the quality of loving kindness for as long as it takes to snap a finger, you have manifested jhana. You have absorbed into it one of the potent, fruitful qualities in the universe. And from this, you must take your lead from this, trust it, and begin to integrate that into the way you live through right relationship, communality, sharing, service, and so forth. And so this is certainly how we come out of the restricted state. He didn't just say it's meditation. Meditation, very important to verify this reality. It's also about life, living life, training in one's life. When these two come together, the training in your life verifies what you experience in your meditation, and your meditation verifies what you experience in your life training. And they both lead to liberation. They taste the same taste. This is the defining quality of Dhamma Vinaya. So it's just like the oceans, whatever ocean has the taste of salt, all true Dhamma Vinaya has the taste of release and liberation from the restricted condition. So I hope some of this is one or two points are worthy of recollection and consideration. So
Namayang Dhammakataya Sadhu Karanda Dhammasehi Sadhu 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 Anumodani.
well, okay, so we'll close the session for today, but really, take whatever's been useful and really dwell and linger in it and have faith in it, have courage and have faith in it. And it's something you can trust, absolutely. You can trust it. Okay, so we'll close the session. I think probably next week I'll see if I can respond to some questions and answers. For now, we'll pay respects to the Triple Gem and bid you farewell. Bundam Bhagavantam Vivadi Swakado Bhagavatman Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Be well, take care, and keep practicing.